Hello there my fellow gamers, this is the Acer Nitro 16, the successor to the Nitro 5 we have reviewed last year with one of the fastest RTX 3070 Ti's you could get your hands on in 2022. Last year's model was also one of the loudest notebooks we have tested, so let's see if they have been able to mitigate that and whatever else is new with this one. Our review sample for the new generation comes with AMDs Ryzen Refresh, an RTX 4070, 16GB of DDR5-4800 RAM and a 1TB NVMe SSD. As the name suggests, we get a new form factor for the mid-range Acer this time around, and the display made the jump to a 16-inch 16:10 aspect ratio with a crispy QHD Plus resolution and a 165Hz refresh rate. This configuration will run you about 2100 euros here in Germany, and in the US you will have to shell out about $1,650, but you get a Zen 4 Ryzen 7 7840HS, which would be the much better CPU option anyways, but more on that later. While the chassis dimensions have been adjusted to make room for the slightly larger display, the Nitro keeps its gamer-real looking all-plastic body. While the overall rigidity is mostly fine, none of the used materials feel particularly premium. The hinge is well adjusted and keeps the QHD display firmly in place, without too much wobble, and given that the lid is made from plastic as well, it's actually fairly flex resistant. Despite the plastic body, weight is quite substantial, and the Nitro 16 comes in at a few hundred grams more than competing laptops like the Legion Pro 5 for example. In the I/O department, the Acer almost rivals the before mentioned Legion, which is usually our benchmark when it comes to overall port selection and placement. The 16-inch Nitro does not have to hide in this regard and also comes with a very solid arrangement of connectivity. On the left you can find a wired Ethernet jack, USB 2.0 for your wireless dongles or the like, and a micro SD card reader. On the right, Acer made room for two USB-A 3.2 Gen 2s. The majority of the bigger connectors are located on the back. Here you get your power connector, HDMI 2.1, mini DisplayPort and two USB-Cs. One of those is 3.2 Gen 2, while the other is of the much more flexible USB 4 variety and also supports power delivery. While the SD card reader only provides average transfer rates, there's absolutely nothing to complain about wireless transfers, and the mid-range gamer delivers almost class-leading results. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said about a 1MP camera. The image is pretty soft and overall there's definitely room for improvement in this regard. In the maintenance department you get the usual access to a pair of SODIMMs and NVMe slots and the Wi-Fi card. While some manufacturers do make it quite easy to get inside their laptop chassis for any upgrades, repairs or even just for cleaning duties, the Nitro needs a pretty equal amount of force and finesse, so be careful not to break anything. The keyboard is in general a great fit for the more mid-range oriented Nitro and offers decent travel and a solid pressure point. It just feels a bit soft in total, but I would say you can get used to this one pretty quickly. The trackpad is following in the same lines and offers nothing particularly special, but worked reliably during our testing. In the display department, Acer did their homework, and the 16-inch IPS panel offers a lot to like. It is not only one of the brightest panels we have tested so far, even compared to much higher end notebooks, but our measurements attest the QHD screen's solid numbers across the board. Full sRGB coverage is pretty standard for mid-tier gaming notebooks, and we do not really have something to complain about it in this regard. Just keep in mind, if you are looking to use this in a more visual profession and deal with wider color gamuts like Adobe RGB a lot, the Nitro 16 will most likely not be your ideal choice, even though color reproduction is pretty good from the factory. In the performance department there's both good and bad news, and both are equally related to Team Reds Ryzen 7 7735HS. The Zen 3 Plus refresh is an 8-core 16-thread CPU that on its own delivers okay results in our combined performance rating, but cannot quite match Intel's latest Raptor Lake offerings or even the in-house Zen 4 competition. So the US model with the 7840HS should be your preferred pick if you put the Nitro 16 on your wishlist. This translates pretty well to our system performance tests, and in our PC mock runs, the Nitro performs a little below average. In our subjective impression, however, the gaming notebook is a pretty snappy system, and the Acer should be well suited for a lot more than just gaming, which is further aided by the pretty fast NVMe SSD. Unfortunately, those speeds cannot be held for very long and the drive had to throttle significantly during our benchmark runs. In the GPU department, the RTX 4070 performs very well on its own, shown by our 3D Mark rating. It may not be the fastest variant of Nvidia's mid-ranger, but still offers quite a bit of GPU grunt. As it has been with almost all 4070s we tested yet, you will have a hard time seeing the advertised 140 watts in real-world scenarios. And even if you would, going beyond 100 to 110 watts hardly nets you any performance benefits. But let's finally play some games, and right off the bat the Nitro is not up to a good start and performs significantly worse than the competition in our combined gaming rating. Given that these are older games tested at 1080p, the main limitation here is almost certainly the Zen 3 Plus silicon, given that competing notebooks like the Legion Pro 5 come with the same GPU but much faster CPUs. So while the difference in higher resolutions will not be as significant, you have to be aware of the fact that you will not always get the full performance the 4070 would be capable of when paired with a better CPU. So I would say this combo is fine if you are into demanding story games and play mostly in QHD, but if you want the highest possible frame rates in competitive titles, you might want to opt for either a different configuration or a competing notebook. To give you guys an idea of what to expect from the Nitro 16, we tested some games for you in 1080p and it displays native QHD resolution. When it comes to fan noise, the Nitro delivers basically the same experience as last year's model. In performance mode, the fans spin very audibly, whereas balanced is very competitive. We took some noise samples in various scenarios for you, and I also added a quick test for the speakers as well. Away from the wall, the refreshed Ryzen CPU can redeem itself somewhat and enables the big and heavy gamer to deliver very impressive runtimes on battery. If this is enough to distract from the subpar gaming performance, well, that really depends on how you would want to use this one. Alright folks, let's wrap this up. The Nitro 16 could have been a great recommendation for everyone looking for a solid mid-range gamer with okayish build quality and a well above average display. But unfortunately, this particular configuration with the Ryzen 7 7735HS is a bit of a head scratcher. I mean, you get pretty insane battery life for a gaming laptop, but then again you also leave quite a bit of gaming performance on the table. So while we have not tested the Zen 4 or Intel 13th gen equipped Nitros yet, I would assume that those perform a lot better. And since it seems this one isn't even available in the US anyways, well, I guess you guys are in luck. If you are however in Europe, I would think really hard about how you would want to use your shiny new gaming laptop and what kind of games you're playing before pulling the trigger on this one. It's definitely not a bad laptop, but it really has its quirks you guys need to be aware of. But please let me know what you think about this particular Nitro 16. Sound off in the comments below. As always, please consider liking this very video and make sure to subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming reviews. This would be it for today. Thanks a ton for watching. My name is Alex, you have been absolutely fantastic and I cannot wait to catch you all in the next one. Take care.